Cheese. It's on your pizza, in your sandwiches, melted over burgers, and paired with fruits and wine. But have you ever stopped to wonder how cheese is actually made, not just in theory, but step by step from the very beginning, from a living, breathing dairy cow on a farm, all the way to the blocks, slices, and wheels of cheese in your supermarket? Today, we're uncovering the full cheese-making process, starting right where it all begins, the dairy farm. This is not just about milk and machines. It's about biology, tradition, science, and precision working together to create one of the world's oldest and most beloved foods. Let's start at the source, the dairy farm, where cheese is born. Every piece of cheese starts with one essential ingredient, milk. And that milk comes from dairy animals, most commonly cows, but also goats, sheep, and buffalo, depending on the type of cheese being produced. Modern dairy farms are carefully managed environments designed to keep animals healthy, comfortable, and productive. Healthy animals produce high-quality milk, and high-quality milk is the foundation of great cheese. Dairy cows are usually milked 2 to 3 times a day. Milking is no longer done by hand on large farms. Instead, automated milking machines gently attach to the cow's udder. These machines use controlled suction to extract milk safely and efficiently, without causing pain to the animal. The moment the milk leaves the cow, the clock starts ticking. Fresh milk. Handling and immediate cooling milk is extremely sensitive. If left warm, bacteria can grow rapidly and ruin its quality. That's why, within minutes of milking, the milk is sent through stainless steel pipes into large refrigerated storage tanks. Here, the milk is rapidly cooled to about 4 degrees Celsius or 39 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature slows bacterial growth and preserves freshness until the milk can be transported. At this stage, the milk is raw and unprocessed. It still contains natural fats, proteins, enzymes, and microorganisms. Some cheeses are made from raw milk, but many require pasteurized milk for safety and consistency. That decision will come later at the factory. Before the milk ever leaves the farm, it goes through initial testing. Quality testing at the farm. Every batch of milk is tested to ensure it meets strict quality standards. Samples are checked for fat content, protein levels, temperature, cleanliness, presence of antibiotics or harmful bacteria. If the milk fails any test, it is rejected and never enters the cheese-making process. This step is critical because even small issues in milk quality can ruin an entire batch of cheese later on. Once approved, the milk is ready for transport. Transporting milk to the cheese factory. Milk is transported in large, insulated tanker trucks made of food-grade stainless steel. These tankers are designed to keep milk cold and uncontaminated during transit. Before loading, tanker trucks are thoroughly cleaned and sterilized. Even trace residues from previous loads could compromise the milk. The journey from farm to factory can take anywhere from a few minutes to several hours, depending on distance. Throughout the trip, the milk remains sealed, chilled, and protected from light and air exposure. When the tanker arrives at the cheese factory, the milk is tested again. Factory intake and secondary quality control. At the factory, technicians take new samples from the tanker. This second round of testing confirms that the milk remained fresh and uncontaminated during transport. They test for acidity levels, bacterial count, smell and appearance, fat to protein ratio. Only after passing all tests is the milk approved for unloading. The milk is then pumped into massive holding silos inside the factory. These silos can hold tens of thousands of liters of milk and are temperature controlled to maintain freshness. Now the milk is officially inside the cheese-making facility. But it's still just milk. The transformation hasn't begun yet. Standardization, adjusting milk for different cheeses. Here's something many people don't realize. Not all milk is the same when it comes to making cheese. Different cheeses require different fat and protein levels. For example, cheddar, mozzarella, and brie all need slightly different milk compositions to achieve their unique textures and flavors. So before any cheese is made, the milk goes through a process called standardization. During standardization, cream may be added or removed to achieve the precise fat content required for a specific cheese. This ensures consistency, meaning every batch of cheese tastes and behaves the same as the last. This step is all about precision, pasteurization. Safety meets science. For many cheeses, the next step is pasteurization. Pasteurization involves heating the milk to a specific temperature for a controlled amount of time, then cooling it rapidly. This process kills harmful bacteria while preserving the milk's essential proteins and nutrients. There are different pasteurization methods, but the most common heats milk to about 72 degrees Celsius for 15 seconds. Some traditional or specialty cheeses skip pasteurization and use raw milk instead, relying on aging and strict hygiene to ensure safety. But in large-scale production, pasteurization is the standard. After pasteurization, the milk is cooled again and prepared for the most important transformation of all: preparing milk for cheese making. At this point, the milk is clean, standardized, safe, and ready. But it's still a liquid. To turn milk into cheese, it must be transformed into curds and whey. That process involves cultures, enzymes, time, and temperature control, which we'll explore in detail in the next part. For now, understand this: everything that happens later depends on how well these early steps were done. From healthy cows, to rapid cooling, to strict quality testing, to precise factory preparation. Cheese making is already a complex process long before cheese even exists. And we're just getting started. Before we continue, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and have notifications turned on. If you love learning how everyday foods are made, this series is for you. Now let's jump back into the fascinating transformation of milk into cheese. The cheese vat, where the magic happens. Inside the factory, the prepared milk is pumped into massive stainless steel containers called cheese vats. These vats can hold thousands of liters of milk and are designed to precisely control temperature and movement. Temperature is critical. Too hot, and the milk proteins won't behave correctly. Too cold, and the reactions slow down or fail completely. Once the milk reaches the ideal temperature, the transformation begins with two key ingredients: starter cultures and rennet. Starter cultures. The flavor architects. Starter cultures are carefully selected strains of beneficial bacteria. These bacteria are responsible for developing the flavor, aroma, and texture of cheese. When added to warm milk, starter cultures begin feeding on lactose, the natural sugar found in milk. As they consume lactose, they produce lactic acid. This gradual increase in acidity is essential. It prepares the milk proteins, especially casein, to form curds later on. Different cheeses use different cultures. That's why cheddar tastes sharp, mozzarella tastes mild, and Swiss cheese develops its signature nutty notes. This step may look simple, but it's deeply scientific. Cheesemakers monitor acidity levels closely because even small changes can dramatically affect the final product. Once the cultures are active, the milk is left to rest for a short period, allowing the bacteria to do their work. Then comes the ingredient that truly changes everything: rennet. Turning liquid into solid rennet is an enzyme that causes milk to coagulate. Traditionally, rennet came from the stomach lining of young calves, but today it can also be microbial or plant-based. When rennet is added to the milk, it targets casein proteins and causes them to bind together. Slowly, the milk thickens. Within 30 to 60 minutes, the liquid milk transforms into a soft, jelly-like mass. This is called the curd. At the same time, a watery liquid called whey separates from the curd. Whey contains water, lactose, vitamins, and minerals. This moment is critical. Cheesemakers test the curd by gently cutting into it to check firmness and elasticity. If the curd is too soft or too firm, adjustments must be made immediately. Once the curd reaches the perfect consistency, it's time to cut it. Cutting the curd. Controlling moisture. Using long stainless steel knives or automated cutting tools, the curd is sliced into small cubes. This step directly controls how much moisture remains in the cheese. Smaller curd pieces release more whey, producing firmer cheeses like Parmesan or cheddar. Larger curd pieces retain more moisture, leading to softer cheeses like Brie or Camembert. As the curds are cut, whey begins to flow out more rapidly. The curds shrink slightly and become firmer. At this stage, the mixture looks like a pot of soft, floating white cubes suspended in pale yellow liquid. But the process isn't finished yet. Cooking and stirring the curds. After cutting, the curds are gently stirred and sometimes heated. This step is known as cooking the curds, although no actual cooking occurs in the traditional sense. Heating causes curds to contract further, expelling even more whey. The temperature, duration, and stirring speed vary depending on the type of cheese being made. For example, mozzarella curds are heated and stretched later. Cheddar curds are cooked at moderate temperatures. Hard cheeses require higher heat and longer stirring times. This stage determines the final texture of the cheese. Cheesemakers watch closely, feeling the curds by hand or using instruments to measure firmness. Once the desired moisture level is reached, most of the whey is drained away. Draining the whey, a valuable byproduct. Whey isn't waste. It's collected and reused in many industries, including protein supplements, baked goods, animal feed, and even beverages. As whey drains, the curds begin to clump together. They settle at the bottom of the vat, forming a cohesive mass. At this point, we are officially no longer dealing with milk. We are dealing with young cheese. Cheddaring and curd handling. For certain cheeses, like cheddar, the curds undergo an additional step called cheddaring. During cheddaring, curds are stacked, flipped, and pressed repeatedly. This process expels more whey and aligns protein structures, giving cheddar its dense texture. The curd slabs are then milled into smaller pieces and salted. Other cheeses skip this step entirely, moving directly to molding or stretching, depending on the style. No matter the type, salt plays a crucial role. Salting. Flavor and preservation. Salt is added to the curds in different ways. It may be mixed directly into the curds, rubbed onto the surface later, or applied through brining. Salt does several important things. Enhances flavor controls, moisture, slows bacterial activity, helps preserve the cheese. Too much salt ruins the cheese. Too little, and it may spoil or taste flat. Precision matters. After salting, the curds are ready to take their final shape. Molding and pressing curds are placed into molds that define the cheese's final shape. These molds can create wheels, blocks, logs, or rounds. Many cheeses are pressed during this stage. Pressing removes remaining whey and compacts the curds into a solid mass. Pressure levels vary widely. Light pressure for soft cheeses, heavy pressure for hard cheeses. After pressing, the cheese holds together as a unified form. It looks like cheese now, but it doesn't taste like cheese yet. That transformation happens next. A pause before aging. At the end of part 2, the cheese is young, mild, and undeveloped. Its real personality hasn't emerged. Flavor, aroma, and complexity will come from time, microbes, and carefully controlled environments. And that's exactly what we'll explore next. Before we jump into the final stage, make sure you've liked this video and are subscribed to the channel. If you've enjoyed following cheese from farm to factory, your support helps us create more in-depth food journeys like this one. Now, let's uncover how cheese becomes the flavorful masterpiece you recognize. The aging process, where flavor is born aging, also known as affinage, is the process that transforms young, bland cheese into something complex aromatic, and rich. Cheeses are moved into controlled environments called aging rooms or cheese caves. These rooms carefully regulate temperature, humidity, and airflow. Small changes in these conditions can dramatically affect the final flavor. Some cheeses age for just a few days or weeks. Others age for months or even years. During this time, bacteria and enzymes slowly break down proteins and fats inside the cheese. This breakdown creates new compounds that define flavor, aroma, and texture. That's why aged cheddar tastes sharp, Parmesan tastes nutty, and blue cheese develops its bold, tangy bite. Surface treatments and rind development. Not all cheeses age the same way. Some cheeses develop a natural rind simply by being exposed to air. Others are washed, brushed, or sprayed with specific solutions to encourage certain microbial growth. For example, washed rind cheeses are regularly bathed in salt water or wine, creating strong aromas and savory flavors. Bloomy rind cheeses like brie are sprayed with edible mold that forms a soft, white crust. Blue cheeses are pierced with needles to allow air inside, feeding blue mold veins. These treatments influence how moisture escapes and how flavors evolve from the outside inward. The rind acts like a living skin, shaping the cheese as it matures, monitoring and turning the cheese. During aging, cheese wheels don't just sit untouched. They are regularly turned, cleaned, and inspected by skilled workers. Turning ensures even moisture, distribution, and prevents deformation. Cheesemakers check for cracks, unwanted mold, or texture changes. If something goes wrong, adjustments are made immediately. This hands-on care is why aging is considered both a science and an art. One small error can ruin months of work. Fresh cheeses and non-aged varieties. Not all cheeses are aged. Fresh cheeses like ricotta, cottage cheese, cream cheese, and mascarpone are designed to be eaten soon after production. These cheeses skip the aging rooms entirely. Instead, they're packaged quickly to preserve their mild flavor and soft texture. Even without aging, they still rely on precise control during curd formation and moisture management. Different cheeses, different paths. Same careful attention. Final quality. Control. Once aging is complete, cheeses undergo final inspections. They are evaluated for texture, flavor, aroma, appearance, moisture content. Samples may be cut and tasted to ensure consistency. Only cheeses that meet quality standards move forward. This step ensures that what reaches consumers matches the expected flavor and safety requirements. Cutting, packaging, and labeling. After approval, large wheels or blocks of cheese are cut into consumer-friendly sizes. Modern factories use automated cutting machines that ensure uniform portions while minimizing waste. Cheese is then packaged using materials that protect freshness while allowing certain cheeses to breathe. Labels are added with important information including cheese type, weight, ingredients, production date, expiration or best buy date. For aged cheeses, packaging is especially important to maintain flavor during transport. Cold storage and distribution. Packaged cheese is stored in refrigerated warehouses before distribution. From there, it travels by refrigerated trucks to grocery stores, restaurants, and distributors around the world. Temperature control remains critical. Even after aging is complete, improper storage can damage texture and flavor. When you finally pick up cheese from a store shelf, it has already traveled a long, carefully controlled journey from farm to fork. Think about that journey for a moment. It began with a healthy dairy animal on a farm. It continued through testing, pasteurization, cultures, and curds. It matured through aging rooms filled with microbes and patience, and it ended with careful packaging and transport. Every slice of cheese carries science, craftsmanship, and time. What seems like a simple food is actually the result of hundreds of precise decisions. Why cheese making still matters. Despite modern technology, cheese making remains deeply connected to tradition. Many techniques used today are hundreds, even thousands of years old. What's changed is our ability to control and repeat them safely on a large scale. This blend of ancient practice and modern science is why cheese remains one of the most diverse foods on Earth. Thousands of varieties, endless flavors, one incredible process. If you enjoyed this complete journey of how cheese is made, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who loves food as much as you do. Let us know in the comments what food you'd like to see next, and thanks for joining us from dairy farm to factory, all the way to your table.